This month, Stephen has requested me on Patreon to review Powder, and I think the reason he might have asked me to share my thoughts on this is because of the director. Powder was directed by Victor Salva, who is well known for two things: the Jeepers Creepers movies and spending a little over a year in prison for molesting a 12-year-old. For some reason, the arrest for pedophilia had only a minimal effect on his career, as he continued to get directing jobs after this, with a number of those films produced by Francis Ford Coppola. He has not made a movie since Jeepers Creepers 3 in 2017, so maybe production companies have finally decided to stop working with him, following the Me Too movement in Hollywood. It's so bizarre that he was able to make films for so long, and it's not like this wasn't widely known. Powder actually got a decent amount of press in 1995 for being directed by Salva. The fact that the film was produced by Disney under their Hollywood Pictures label added to the controversy over its release. So it's difficult to watch the film and not have all this in the back of your mind, especially since Salva said the movie was inspired by the taunts he received while in prison and that the main character was based on himself. So in his mind, having albinism is the same as being arrested for pedophilia. That's just wrong and insulting on so many levels. So how does the movie as a whole fare? Well, even ignoring the director, I did not think much of it. The film starts off with some promise when we're introduced to the lead protagonist, Jeremy. Played by Sean Patrick Flanery from the Young Indiana Jones television series, he's portrayed as a genius with impressive memorizing skills. It's also revealed he has special lightning-based abilities, and there's a lot that can be done with this. The best scenes in the movie involve Jeff Goldblum as a science teacher in the high school Jeremy attends. Goldblum does well in the role, and he portrays someone with genuine interest in Jeremy's gifts, not for his own personal gain, but because he wants to see him have a bright future. There's a genuine friendship that occurs between the two. And then Goldblum is gone for most of the film. Seriously, we don't see him again until the ending. And that was one of my problems. The characters and storylines are not fleshed out enough. For example, there's a romance that forms between Jeremy and a girl named Lindsay. They have some okay scenes together, and then that subplot abruptly ends when her father discovers them kissing. I thought maybe she would come back, but that's actually the last we ever see of her. There are a few bullies who torment Jeremy, with the main one feeling like he graduated from the Stephen King school of psychotic bullies. There's a major scene where they're picking on him in a cafeteria full of people, and yet no adult supervisors show up to stop them. Not even the head psychologist, played by Mary Steenburgen, who was the one who put him in the boys' home. There's also a scene where the main bully pulls a gun on Jeremy and actually comes very close to shooting him in broad daylight. These bullies are way too over the top. I mentioned the psychologist, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized how bad she is at her job. She finds this teenager who has been living isolated with his grandparents his entire life, and her role as a child psychologist to make her realize he's going to be discriminated against for his condition. Steenburgen also plays her as genuinely concerned about him and wanting him to lead a good life. But instead of easing him into the world, she immediately puts him in the boys' home with all the immature and rowdy residents. She also wastes no time in putting him in a high school. How does she not realize this is going to cause problems? There's yet another subplot with the sheriff and his dying wife, but I thought those scenes dragged. I actually think the idea of a person who can telepathically help others, either by easing their pain or fears or having them feel sympathy, is a promising one. But Powder barely scratches the surface of this. Finally, the movie ends on such a monumentally cheesy note. It's trying so hard to be inspiring with the sweeping music and the cinematography, but the execution just came off as ridiculous to me. Overall, Powder wound up being a mixed bag for me. Thank you for your request, Stephen.